Welcome to What's Your Story, where we, Jamie Marco,
and Stan Brown.
delve into the extraordinary lives of everyday people.
Listen in as we uncover the unique tales that shape who we are.
One story at a time.
Hey, let's get ready to explore today's story.
Let's do it. Hi.
It's a beautiful day in our neighborhood. Hello, everybody.
Oh, Dad, I'm drinking my watermelon cucumber kombucha from Pura Vida
Man,
today.
I made kombucha 25 years ago and nobody would listen to me.
Mm, you did. I remember that you used to get the actual mushroom and ferment it in our laundry room. Where did that come from that you wanted to do that?
Sarah Special and Phil Donahue showed what the concept was, what the benefits of drinking kombucha. But see, there are two main things you don't want to be in life.
Yeah.
You don't want to be ahead of your time, which
Okay.
unfortunately I was, and you don't want to be famous posthumously.
Okay. Why?
Well, if you're dead and you're famous, you don't know you're famous. If you're ahead of your time, it's like with penicillin, with Dr. Freud, you're crazy. Kombucha? What? That thing stinks. Get it out of here. It smells up the whole house.
But you saw like tremendous health benefits from drinking it, did you not?
Well, listen, people have the ability, if they're curious and they find something that arouses their curiosity, do some research. Kombucha was amazing. It was used in Russia and the Baltic countries for years as a health benefit. The whole list of things it does for you, longevity-wise, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer. And we drank it for years.
Yeah.
What you're drinking today is just really a very small amount. It's a marketing gimmick. It's a very small amount.
It's delicious though.
That's it. It's even better, see?
Do you still, so what made you stop drinking kombucha? Because you were fermenting the mushrooms and then you were giving them to friends. Like I remember like you getting bags and like breaking off a mushroom and giving it to somebody else. And
Called the SCOGI. You give them away because they propagate themselves.
okay.
And it's amazing. No one knows where the first mushroom came from. It's kind of a flat pancake.
Yeah.
It kind of ferments and makes some stuff. And
Okay.
I always wonder where the first one came from. They propagate themselves. But just did it for years and too laborious. Then I think I started buying it. It was commercially made. It was easier.
Oh yeah, you got
'Cause
bottles of
Yeah,
it.
because I'm a man of full convenience.
But it's interesting because you ultimately read a story or saw a story on Phil Donahue.
There was no TV show yet.
Right. And like that's where like so many things like start, right? Like you hear a story and it prompts you to think of a new idea or a new
Oh, sure.
concept or something like that. And so every time that I drink kombucha now, I remember, even if it's commercialized now with watermelon and cucumber, I remember those stories you used to tell us and those things that you used to share. And I would say that my storytelling ultimately comes from what you taught me for storytelling.
It's very gratifying.
Yeah.
So people, the lesson is, if you find, I do channel surfing and it makes my wife crazy. But when you channel surf, who knows who's leading you where to look, and you find out things that arouses your curiosity. Explore things. There's so much information that's out that's right now today very readily available that's beneficial to you. Just research it. Don't feed the curiosity. Don't walk away.
Well, and I love that you said that because our guest today does that. And
He's a feeder?
He is a feeder and it's incredible. So I one day was just scrolling and came across a video.
See, living
Yeah,
proof.
there we go. Came across a video of him and I was like, oh my goodness, this man is amazing. Like his storytelling ability. I'm like, who is he? So of course I jumped on the socials and I started like type. Actually, I type with one finger. So it's type. And I found him and I was like, you know what? I would love to hear about him and learn more about him. So I just messaged him on LinkedIn. He responded back and I was like, yes. And then he's our guest today.
Well, let's find out if he's worth contacting. I'm sure he is.
That is pretty funny. Let's see. What do we have here? Can you read that? Oh, it's gone. You're
I was
muted.
practicing my German.
Oh, we're almost there. We're almost there. You're muted. We can't hear you, but I know your voice as soon as it comes on. We'll hear it. There we go. I think we're good.
Okay.
There we
Hi,
go.
Neal. It's so nice to meet you in the box.
Yeah. Yeah. Likewise.
Well, I
Very
was
nice to
just
meet you.
telling my dad, we were just talking in our pre-show little chatter about how I was introduced to you initially. and we were talking about how my dad has like been a storyteller my whole life, but I was just scrolling one day. I think I actually might not have been able to sleep, and your face came right there on the screen. Someone had reposted a story that you posted, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this man's amazing. I have to connect with him. I reached out to you on LinkedIn. You wrote back, so thank you.
That's my pleasure. It's
Oh,
wonderful to meet you.
connection.
Yes, and we're happy to have you here.
Right on. Well, it's a funny thing about every once in a while, I'll be recognized because of the glasses, and somebody saw a TikTok video. And it's not often, but every once in a while. And I'm happy to report that it has happened in the most opportune moments. I was pitching a big project on behalf of a company I was working with, and we were in this office space in Newport Beach. And just as we were getting to the end, the office manager came in and recognized me and then announced loudly to the table of clients, "This guy's awesome." And so I'm like, oh, right on.
Do
And
you close that
it's
deal?
well, yeah.
I mean, how do you not? How do you not?
The cost of the dozen donuts was worth it.
I know, really, it's easier to just bring the donuts than to
That's very gratifying, though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's so nice to meet you. So I'm Jamie. This is my dad, Stan,
Hey,
and
Neil, how are you?
and nice to meet you.
you we typically start off by asking one question, and we'll start there, and then we're just going to go wherever this conversation goes, and that's where we'll go. So,
Quick,
All right.
yeah.
if we added one letter to your last name, I'd be doing this.
What?
Neal Forward.
Oh, oh,
For,
got it.
forward.
That was
Forward.
bad. That was really
It
bad.
gets worse.
Yeah. I'm gonna apologize for you on that one. I was like, I didn't even get it. So, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being it's the best day you've ever had, you don't have a worry in the world, to a 1 being that you probably should not have gotten out of bed today and should not be peopling. Yep, it's a verb. What would your number be?
Today?
Yeah, right now.
Oh, I think it's around about 9. I'll tell you why.
Please.
Um, Things have been trending in the right direction. I decided to sort of become a professional storyteller, a storyteller coach a couple of years ago. And it was pretty lean going originally, as you can imagine. But it's been picking up in a way that's really gratifying, which is that you when you really find your tribe, you find that ordinary days are quite
Extraordinary.
pleasant. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And when you are just whoever you are and you decide to stay on brand, so to speak,
Mhm.
um, it's astonishing what you attract to you. And as I say, it's sort of trending in the right direction. It's like if you start going to the gym and then you start noticing results,
Yeah.
and people ask, "Do you like going to the gym?" "Oh yeah, man, I love going to the gym." You're like,
Yeah.
every last little, the one where it's supposed to hurt. Now
Uh-huh.
you're actually like, no, this is where we're making the gains.
Yes.
So it changes your orientation towards pain and suffering.
I love
But
that.
that's the lesson of startups. Any startup is difficult. Getting that flywheel to kind of turn over and
Yeah,
getting any kind of momentum, it takes a lot of work.
People
yeah,
don't realize it. They often only see the success. I think a lot about Sarah Blakely, and I'm not sure if you know who Sarah
for
Blakely is.
sure.
But
Yes,
yeah. Oh,
Spanx.
good.
Yeah,
Perfect. If you didn't know who she was, I'd be like, you're in marketing advertising, you live under a rock. But her story is just even how she, like, people look at her now and they follow her and they think that it's all the success now, but she went through a lot to get there. And so I think it's incredible. Where does your storytelling start? Like, where did this passion for doing that come from?
um, sort of. There's two versions of that story. There's the professional version, and there's the family version. The family version is that I grew up. I saw the original broadcast of Saturday Night Live in 1975,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, and that was we didn't have a VCR, and if you were going to see Saturday Night Live, you had to stay up for it.
Yeah.
And and the crazy thing was that my family, by the way, I think back then they did two live shows. They did the dress, which was broadcast on the East Coast at 11:30,
I
and
didn't
then
know.
they did the live show for the West Coast.
Oh, I
Um,
didn't either. Okay.
yeah. And anyway, um, the thing was that my sisters loved Saturday Night Live, but they would never stay up for it. And so I would stay up and watch it and then redo it the next morning. I would perform it the next morning. And I think the nicest compliment I ever got in my life was when I was doing one of the skits, and then my sister Lily saw it like 6 months later in some tape or something and said, it wasn't as good. And
Oh,
so that was
You had that full recall the next day?
I would, knowing that that was my role, I would write down what the skits were and then remember what they were. Like it was the Killer Bees and the Olympia Cafe
yeah.
and and
Cheeseburger, cheeseburger.
yeah, yeah. And nevertheless, the hard part was always remembering Dan Aykroyd's astonishing fake commercials where he'd be doing walk on down to the rabbit hut, we'll turn you into a rabbit nut at Del Stater's Rabbit Hut. And he was made his bones, I think, on the Bassmaster, where he was taking a blender and turning, that's good bass. And so I don't think I ever remembered his like word for word things, but nevertheless, but the real answer to your story is, I went into advertising, and in advertising, I was in the creative side of the business, coming up with ads, and I did not have that lightning talent that some people have. And as compensation, I would try to bring fervor and entertainment value to the description of the commercials, the ideas. And what you discover right away, sadly, is that people don't know a good idea when they hear it. You have to sell it to them. That if people knew a good idea when they heard it, then we would all run movie studios. We would,
True.
right? But we don't. We don't know a good idea when we hear it. You have to be persuaded. And this is the thing about clients, is when a client has a lot of money at stake and they don't know if it's going to work, you have to get them excited enough to write a check for a piece of creative.
Yeah.
So it became a valuable thing to be good at explaining the ideas. And I sort of rode that track where my groups we would come in and dress a room. I mean, we would make sure there was a little place setting in front of the clients, and it would have the aroma of vanilla, and it would there would be pleasant music when they walked in, and there would be a dance number, and we
Oh,
really went out of our way to make sure
yeah.
that this was going to be absolutely the best part of your day. And even the ways we would ask for approvals were funny.
Can you
Like
mention who some of those clients might have been?
Toyota was a big one. I worked on Toyota for years and years because Toyota had an enormous, they had a huge product line, huge product line. And and there was a dealer network as well. So as much as they were spending on the national advertising, the dealer network spent just as much and sometimes more. And so you would have to go out and make these presentations to regional boards of directors of 12 car dealers who are very savvy and very skeptical, and it's difficult to get a consensus.
I mean, were you driving
So
a car into their office? Like, what was?
no,
What
it
was
is.
your hit ratio?
What was my ratio of wins, or
Yeah.
like, well, depending on the circumstances, you had to get a win in one form or another.
No prisoners. Take no prisoners.
You had to win. And it's funny because I absolutely loved the show Mad Men, but if you ever watch that with real advertising people, they're all like, yeah, Don Draper wouldn't last 20 minutes in this business because the day you tell a client to F off, that gets around real fast. And
Well, it's like
they
anyone.
don't they
Yeah.
don't put up with that at all. Like,
Well, it's so funny that anyone that like is in their industry that watches any show that's about like my husband will not watch legal shows, my friend won't watch doctor shows. Like for you,
right,
that's probably the same thing with that. You're like, that's so unrealistic.
right, right.
But
You
it's the
you
balance you got to keep because they want to drive the car. They don't want you driving the car.
you nailed it. You have to look, the one lesson I learned above all other lessons. Here it is. The revealed word of the Lord.
Hold on.
Life gets so much easier when people like you.
Yes. It's
They
so
want you to win, right?
when you're the
So,
awesome guy, right?
right, right. So, but the truth is, what you were just saying seconds ago is, they want to drive the car.
The balance.
It,
Okay.
it's their car. So I'm just here to help. I want to see you succeed. And you know what? I'm going to make this entertaining because life is short. All right. So we're going to enjoy this.
What's the worst idea you had to pitch with enthusiasm?
Oh, a
You know
lot.
what it is. You know. You
A
know.
lot of them. I'll give you one sense of a category. I didn't like doing advertising for sales events
Okay.
because I was so proud of the brand Toyota. I was so proud of it and Lexus. I never wanted to have to ever deceive someone into buying it or even not. I wanted you to be ecstatic that this product is as brilliant as it is. And what they were fond of doing in a sales event was saying things like, there may never be a better time to buy than right now. Now, when you say a sentence like that, you are deliberately intending for the person to hear it wrong. What you want them to hear is, there will never be a better time to buy than right now. But they didn't say that. They said there may never be a better time to buy. Now, the absolute opposite of that sentence is equally true. There may be a better time to buy than right now. If I'm telling you something and the absolute opposite of it is equally true, I've said nothing. So why would I say something without any nutritional value, just a bunch of calories? It's because I intend to bamboozle you into feeling like you've got to strike now, like hurry up. And they would always say that at the end, hurry while supplies last, or
build the urgency. Sure.
Yeah.
you build the urgency. Now, I always had a philosophical reticence about selling that idea. I did it because it was foisted on me and it was a requirement of my job, but I never liked it. So what we would do is we would try desperately to dress it up with life-affirming messaging and pleasant, sort of, I'll give you a good sense about like the kind of stupid, goofy things we would do. We did a Columbus Day sales event in New York. In New York, Columbus Day is a big deal. And we would do this Columbus Day sales event. And I had this crazy idea. It gave me a minuscule budget and it had to be done in a week. And so I got this G.I. Joe and messed with him enough to get around the copyright. And then I dressed him up like Christopher Columbus and we did a campaign called Christopher Columbus Action Figure. Oh yeah. And I'll tell you what the action is this weekend, baby. Sit your Toyota dealer. Oh yeah. And he had this accent like this. I did the voiceover. Oh yeah. And so we had Christopher Columbus would do stuff like, I think you should bring me back for President's Day. Because, and he would just be this, he was this hard charging, pushy salesperson. And the idea was, we're all just having fun with this. Look, they're having an event. So come down. Okay.
It was sketch comedy. Absolutely.
It was sketch comedy. Okay. But then here's what happened. Okay. So they did really well. The weekend was great, but the dealers were getting phone calls like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Oh my God, this is terrible. And the dealers' families are seeing it and going, good Lord, Dad, what did you take? LSD? What? Okay. So they were getting a lot of negative feedback. So they dug into me. I mean, they smacked me upside the head. In the future, I had to literally apologize for having done that campaign. So what I did,
you never should have acknowledged it with your voice. I'll fire that guy.
What I did was, I did a video of firing the Christopher Columbus. And so he's sitting there like going, hey, so they had a great weekend, right? Sales were really good. Yeah, sales were good. They went up 25%. I did all the stats, right? We were up 25% over last year, same time, right? Yes. Listen, Chris, we need to talk. Okay, what are we going to talk about? When we're doing another campaign, I'm ready. I've been going to the gym. I've been doing this thing called CrossFit. Have you heard of this? Okay, so and I'm going, wait, no, Chris, seriously, yeah, no, we're not going to be using you anymore. What? So what now? Yeah, we're not going to continue with this campaign. You must be high, and so on it goes. So this video, and basically, here's what happens. So
was this on what medium was this on? Was this on like television, on YouTube? Like where was this at?
Yeah, no, it was on regular TV. It was on like,
And
New
the
York
doll was speaking
One.
to you. The GI Joe was speaking to you.
Oh, you mean the video? No, I did that for the board meeting which I
Oh,
had
Oh,
to
got
oppose.
it. Okay. Okay. Got it.
So this was just to the dealers, and they really went into me, and I figured that the thing to do is just embrace the suck.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want them to, in the meeting, complain loudly and come after me. And what I figured the smart play would do is everybody told me ahead of time, oh, they're going to go after you. So I got ahead of it. And that's why I did the video, is to say, uh,
Oh, I don't know if
I
that's
did,
you.
small
Pausing.
freeze.
Small little
here it happens.
technology. There we go. Are you there? Okay. Go back. We
Oh,
lost you for a second, but go for it.
okay. So I said that, I wanted to get ahead of it and tell them that I had fired Christopher Columbus action figure and that we taped it. Well, at the end of the recording, uh, the camera continues to roll after I've left the room. And so I've said, so Chris, you're through. We're finished. We're never going to come back. And he goes, all right, fine, fine. And then I stand up and you see his little hand go to my zipper and pull it down. Now, I didn't see this on the video, okay? And so then I leave the room and he goes, have a great meeting, you bastard. Okay, so then I'm in the meeting and I see the video and I'm standing right next to the screen and I see the video where he's undone it, and I look down and my zipper's undone. And brother, let me tell you,
They
that
went
solved
crazy.
all problems.
They went
That,
crazy.
Oh
right?
my gosh.
And here's the epilogue. Okay, so that's my way of saying, if you can just keep the meetings light enough, they forgive you.
Yeah.
But then, and I didn't tell them this, we shot an entire campaign of 13 commercials.
With Chris.
13 commercials. Christopher Columbus was hidden in the screen in every one of those commercials. He was
Subliminal advertising.
he was in the background. And when they found out, they thought that was the greatest thing ever. And they would spot him, and circle
Up
it.
on the shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do have to say that that was the greatest idea I ever had in my entire advertising career, was putting Christopher Columbus action figure in the back of the commercials
Like,
so
so
that
who
they
was
could
on
find.
drugs? You or them or both of you?
Christopher
This
Columbus.
I tell you what it came out of was the desire to make the meetings
fun.
fun
Yeah.
so that it was easier to get a yes,
Yeah.
because they were in the mood. They didn't want to, they weren't there to fight. They were there to enjoy themselves. And when like I say, life gets so much easier when people like you.
Yeah.
And if they had a board meeting coming next Thursday, they were looking forward to it,
Yeah.
because they knew some kind of craziness was going to happen,
I love
which,
that. I
which it
think that
often
is
did.
That's
like,
a compliment.
yeah, and that's the thing is that like people, you're so right. When they feel like they're part of like the story and you bring them into it and they like you and they're having fun, it's memorable as well too. And so it's no wonder you had a really successful career with them. I think that's incredible.
Yeah, that Chris Columbus thing taught me a lot. It
So how
it
would you
taught
teach
me.
somebody who's inherently not likable to be likable? Not me, of course.
Let me give you a hypothesis. Okay, so on the bell curve of human behavior, the distribution where 67% of us are within one standard deviation of sort of typical human behavior. That is, most of us are pretty cool. We're okay. Like when somebody drops their wallet, we'll give it back to them. When you'll open the door for people, and so on. Most of us. On the good side of that is another 17% that are really cool. And there's some of them that'll jump on a grenade for you. Like that's how good they
Now
are.
you're pushing the boundaries.
On the other side, 17% of the human race is less than nice. Okay, so it's less than 1 in 5.
Yeah.
Less than 1 in 5.
Okay.
And then there's 1.4% legit psychopaths, like sociopaths. Like they have no empathy. They cannot identify with you. That's not how their mind works.
Yeah.
When people are like that,
Maybe the CEOs.
they need to be, well, I know some
Ex-boyfriend.
CEOs, I know some CEOs that qualify for that. They either need to be incarcerated or some other measure needs to be taken to protect ourselves from somebody that is they're a problem.
Or elected.
But I very rarely run into that 17% of real a-holes.
Yeah.
I just don't run into them. Um, and I think the reason is they're not coming to me for services.
Yeah.
With me out there preaching my evangel of
Yeah.
like, now
Kindness. Like, yeah.
as far as they're concerned, they cannot connect with me on how sweetness and they just don't understand that cooperation is the human superpower. That
Sure.
when we can believe in each other and support each other and communicate with each other our affection for one another, that does not resonate. So they don't come to me. So the world that I encounter is very, very few of these people.
But
And
your sincerity and the realness of you is infectious, and they know it's real. You're having a great time. Come on, join the party.
They're scared.
and I saw in real time people in business meetings. You guys familiar with the term, the Pygmalion effect?
Oh, sure.
The Pygmalion effect, yeah, is when you set an expectation for someone that they are going to live up to it. They they can't control the drive to want to live up to that expectation. Soldiers, policemen, professors, students, you know, when you set an example and you say people like us do things like this, as Seth Godin would say,
It raises the bar for them, sure.
they will live up to that expectation, but they will also live down to expectations. And this is why it's so dangerous to have a soldier or a police officer or a CEO that violates the social contract. A war criminal needs to be plucked from the platoon. Otherwise, you will have a platoon full of war criminals. Well, when you look at the way look at our media landscape, look at what gets celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be very careful that you do not ingest a diet of reality TV where people stab each other in the back and where people are famous for being famous and there's no nutrition to go with the calories of the entertainment. I'm actually trying to be a countervailing force where I'm saying people aren't as bad as you think they are. There are thousands of examples of people being nice to you during the day. And the reason you don't notice is because they're so common. You've habituated on it. It's happening to you so much that the only thing you remember from the day is the awful thing that somebody did to you, and that's stuck in your head. You can't go there. You're taking in the wrong kind of nutrients. I'll give you a great example of sort of thing that I see all the time, and I started writing them down because I started noticing. I keep this book exclusively for when stuff like this happens. Okay, so I'm at the gym, and I like going in the early morning. I like that early morning crowd. It's always the same people,
Yeah.
and
Same. Get it done.
nobody's posing. I didn't get up at 5 a.m. to look in the mirror.
Exactly.
Okay?
No makup, nothing.
Right.
Like no coffee
Thanks.
yet. Yeah.
Right.
Like
Nobody's
full real offer.
posing.
Yeah.
Right. We're all here to work out. Okay. One day, and there's this cluster of these three guys that bang weights you can't believe. They're yoked, these guys. And one of them is on the bench press. Okay. A woman walks in and you can tell she's a new member. It looks like she's hasn't been to the gym in a while, or if at all. So she's got that look of, I don't know where anything is.
Lost.
And he sees this and he goes, hey. And she's, what? And he goes, come here, come here. So she comes up and he goes, can you spot me on this thing? And she goes, yeah, okay. I don't know how. No, when I get to this rep, you just lift the bar for me. Okay, so he's jamming this weight. She looks like she's about 5'10". So she's, and he gets to the point of failure and he's got plates on this thing. And she goes, huh? And she gets it up on the bar. And he's like, whoa. And he gets up and he high fives her. And then I can't hear what they're saying, but here's what I see. All of a sudden they're talking, and then he's pointing, this is that there, and this is over here, and this is, okay, here's what happened. I knew what he was doing. He saw that she was new and didn't know anything is. Now, what's the biggest favor he can do for her? Make her feel
Oh, sure.
comfortable.
Yeah,
But
welcome.
I'm not going to make her feel comfortable. Like if I'm some creep, who's all yoked and jacked up, and I'm going
Yeah,
up and saying, "Hey, that's going to be exact the opposite." But if
yeah.
I ask her for help, if I ask for a favor, now she feels like she's got a role. She feels useful. She feels like she's at home, and she feels appreciated because he's like, "Hey, thank you." And this I can anticipate what he might have said. It'd be like, it's always the same people. I hope you're going to be coming in the early morning. This is where you get the idea, right?
Yeah.
So I said to him, I go, I saw what you did there. I thought that was like that's what you did, right? You didn't want to make her uncomfortable. He goes, yeah. And I go, man, that was well played. And he goes, yeah, I guess I'm not just a pretty face. And
And when
now,
you neither am I.
yeah,
And today, their youngest child's in college.
yeah. Well, what I that sort of thing happens more than you think. It happens all around you. When you start to get tuned into it and you start to notice it, like the woman at the hotel who is just a pistol and who's welcoming you in, making you glad you're at the Marriott, the low one, not the high one. Because I stayed at the Soho Grand Hotel for 3 weeks in New York once. We were doing a big project. Soho Grand is like super, you're probably likely in the lounge to run into, you're going to run into some fancy pants thing,
Yeah.
Everybody's somebody. Okay. I stayed there 3 weeks. 3 weeks. When I checked out, they asked me if I was checking in. Like if it's like, in other words, I have never seen you before. I was a
You're
denizen
anonymous.
of that thing.
Wow.
So in other words, we have no consciousness of you at all. Like I could give a rat's. Okay. So I thought,
That's a little
wow,
heartbreaking.
I
Yeah.
really do not feel welcome here. I don't. Okay. Meanwhile, in Plano, Texas, at the Garden Suites or whatever the fuck that is, that gal Caprice is making me feel like I'm an all-star.
Yeah.
She is, and nobody trained her to, well, I don't think they trained her to do it. Pretty sure they didn't. I,
Right.
I got there. I just did a video on this because it was so delightful. She saw me coming in every night on a Lime scooter. And the thing about Lime scooters, you got to leave them out there so that somebody else gets it
Oh, the rental
next.
space. Yeah, the rental
Right.
space. Yeah.
But she saw me coming in every night in this thing. So I come out one morning and she's not there. But the young guy goes, "Are you Neal?" And I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "Caprice saved your Lime scooter in the back so you'd have it in the morning." And I thought, Caprice?
Wow.
Oh my God. 3 weeks at the Soho Grand, they don't even know that I'm a guest.
They're
Meanwhile,
charging
I
you for
got
lime
somebody,
scooter you didn't use.
I got, I got, I got somebody riding, shotgun for me at the Garden Suites. What
It's
the
so
hell was it?
interesting, right? Like, why do you think that is?
Some people on that bell curve go to the nice end.
Yeah.
And she gets a thrill like that bodybuilder. She gets a kick out of making other people
Yes.
happy.
Yeah. So this is like your life now. You're doing these videos, you always have your black
Yeah.
background and you like, I mean, like it's incredible. But
Yeah.
like, and then you were a storyteller, obviously, in advertising and marketing. And I think you're also a father, right? I think we briefly learned that last time. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So, how do you instill this in your children about being that extra 17%? Oh my gosh, who is that?
That's
Daughter.
Tony.
Oh,
Now
s-
look at that face and tell me, like, she tells me how it's gonna be.
oh my gosh. So
Now
listener, if you're not
she's
watching
23
YouTube,
now. I'm showing you this picture.
yeah.
Yeah, she's 23, but I'm showing you because that's the real.
Oh my gosh. You knew at 23 she was going to be the boss. That's so funny. But I mean, like, how do you, as a dad and as a parent, instill in your children to fall into the 17% that are on the right side of the bell curve?
Well, they come out of the factory with a setting, and
They do? I can't
I,
find my daughters.
I
Just kidding.
can't.
She's over
They're
there.
they're going to be what they're going to be, and I think I lucked out that they're exhibiting the better qualities of. I do think that characteristics skip a generation. I think that they borrow, like for example, my son looks very much like he's his uncle Mike's boy. Like he
Yeah.
looks more like my brother-in-law than he does me.
That's a
Uh,
different story altogether, Neal.
Are we announcing something here on the podcast?
Yeah, I
there
guess
are other there are other reasons, I'm sure. I'm okay. But uh, they they come out and they are the people they are. And now it's just a question of, can I make sure they stay the person they are? Because you lately, because of social media, it is a weapons platform for hassling other people. It can be fantastic, but if you are a preteen girl between the ages of, say, 11 and 16, you're going to go through a patch where everything in the universe is going to try and take you away from what you really are. It's going to try to make you feel bad about yourself. It's going to weaponize your enemies and bullying. It's Society is going to make all these claims on you about like what you should wear and what you should eat. And it's, thank goodness now that Antonia's in her 20s, it's like she's getting back to the person that she was. She's becoming her real self again. And my son, God bless him, he was always just him. He was just always, you
Well,
couldn't yank him off of
I
that.
heard a statistic today that says all human beings share about 99% of the same genetic makeup. We talk about the power of one. So everyone's that 1% different. And you have to maximize that and become that 1% who you are. Because we're all connected by that 99% invariably.
I heard this from a hypnotist. I became a certified hypnotherapist in New York. It was because I wanted to be hip to how advertising was acting on me.
Yeah.
And you discover something fascinating about hypnosis that I did not know, which is we all walk around thinking that hypnosis is some Svengali snapping his fingers, you cluck like a chicken, like you lose control over yourself. It is exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
You only get in touch with yourself. So I'll give you the example he gave me. He says, okay, I want you to imagine that you are driving to a destination and you've got a navigation system on the windshield and it's telling you turn right here, turn left there. Now I want you to imagine there are 6 of those on your windshield and they don't agree. Now I want you to imagine 13 of those and they're all yelling at you. It would be astonishing if you didn't just pull over to the side of the road and give
Scream.
up. This is the equivalent of what it's like to be alive now. Your church or synagogue or mosque is telling you what you should do. Your parents are telling you what to do. Your siblings are ordering you around. Your school is telling you what to do. Your friends are telling you what to do. Your boss is telling you what to do. And who's the worst offender of all? Advertising, programming. Like
Wow.
they're programming you. And all these voices do not agree. And the only voice you're not listening to
Is your own.
is your own,
Wow.
because your own is the only one with any doubt. Everything else is so confident, so forthright, so loud, so incessant. I unbelievably constant drumbeat. And now, if you're an 11-year-old girl, it's coming at you from threat vectors that are brand new. So this hypnotist guy says to me, here's what you do in hypnosis. We quiet all of that down. I get you into a relaxed state to stop the chattering monkeys. You are listening exclusively to me. And what am I doing? I'm telling you to listen to you.
So
I'm asking you questions that you answer, not that I answer. I'm getting you in touch with why you really do things. The example he used with me is he says, young woman comes in, she's 25 years old. She wants to quit smoking. She really wants to quit smoking. But no matter what she tries, she cannot get rid of this habit. It's a real pull. So we quiet her down. We remove all other distractions. She's finally in a nice, relaxed state where she's only hearing her own voice and mine. And I ask her, when was the very first time you ever touched a cigarette? And she said, oh, I was in my father's lap and he had a pack of cigarettes in his pocket, in his chest pocket. And I pulled one of them out. Oh, and he laughed and laughed.
Mm.
Oh, and what did he say anything? Yes, he said, you're too young for that. So the signals she's getting are, she associates her father, who she loved dearly, she associates his entertainment and laughter and her being in his lap with the cigarettes. And then when he says, "You're too young," she goes, "But now I'm
I'm
not too young.
older now.
Now
Sure.
I'm old enough." Those are very powerful signals she would
Wow.
never have gotten in touch with if she couldn't calm down enough
Yeah.
to remember where that came from. And
Wow.
then what the hypnotist does was he spent a good chunk of the session reminding her of how much she loved her father. And how did he die? I'll bet you guys can guess how he died.
Yeah. Lung cancer.
Lung cancer.
Uh-huh.
And so he turned that into, you hate cigarettes. You loathe them with a white hot magnesium fire of hate. And she didn't pick up a cigarette from that because every time she looked at them,
Sure.
She
she
remembers
was
that.
consumed with anger.
Wow.
This is
So
because
powerful.
she's getting in touch with her own voice. Well, so here I am telling stories. The purpose of the stories, and the thing I always recommend to anybody that I'm trying to help along to be a better storyteller, is you've got to say something uplifting. It needs to give me a sense of hope or togetherness, belonging. I need to feel like everything's not so bad.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And because I need for you to go out in the world and attract that energy back to you.
Yeah. I love that.
And because, there are people out there, like people that were making those cigarettes, that want to make it seem super cool.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they were advertisers.
Well, that's all I
they were
thought.
good advertisers. They were good
Yeah, or
advertisers.
like, but think about like when I was growing up, in the 70s and 80s, every cool character on TV had a cigarette in their hand. Look at the movie Grease.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
That's
my
like
God.
everything you had. And so it wasn't just the advertisers. Well,
Yes.
it was obviously product placement. But I didn't know it was like, I didn't know what kind of cigarette sometimes. But like that's the thing is that, and take that outside of it. But I just think it's incredible that it's so true if you just listen to your own voice, but it's hard to find that. There's so much noise, so much noise. So I
Well,
love.
now I want to give you I just happened to see something here that made me laugh. And I want to share with you a little trick of Zoom.
Oh,
Okay.
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 Yeah.
So I want you to watch. I'm going to change my video setting here so that I want to find. I want to find the little thing that will let me do the special effects on the video settings. Here we go. All right, and
We're waiting for. So, listener, if you're only listening and you're not watching, we invite you to go to YouTube so you can see what we're about to experience and
Can
you
you
can
can you,
see
can you do this
our
in
faces.
can you do this in the Chris Colombo Columbus voice? I missed
I'm
that
just looking here. I want to find. I want to find my background and effects.
guy. You
Okay,
can't
hold
fire this
on.
guy.
I can
Here we
only.
go.
Oh,
Oh,
All
you're
right.
yeah. So you've done. So, listener, if you're not paying attention, he's actually blurred out his background.
Okay, so I'm still in focus, but I blurred my
Yeah.
background. Now I want you to watch this.
okay, we'll
Okay.
watch.
Wait, wait, wait.
Okay.
Oh, wait, wait. It's not working. Give me a
Oh,
second.
all
Give me a second.
right. So
Here,
we
it'll work. It'll work this time. Okay.
got it.
I'm in my underground art gallery bunker. Here we go.
Sure. Okay. Virtual background. Oh.
So
An avatar.
So if you can't see
yes.
this, I recommend this time you go to YouTube because what he's done is he's done a virtual background and then held up a white sheet of paper with a drawing that is his face. And so it looks like almost like a cartoon has arrived. And that's cool. I didn't know that you could do
Yeah,
that.
I didn't know that either. I had this wonderful friend of mine um, uh, down in Australia. He's a great storyteller, and he will paint your picture while he's talking to you. So he had me on his
This is only in
podcast.
person.
What's that?
Only has to be in person to do this. You can do
No,
it.
no, no. We were doing it. I was here, and he was in Sydney and or Melbourne or something,
Wow.
and
I'm
he
going to be
painted
in
that
Sydney
picture.
real soon.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so when I got the portrait, I happened to have a background effect and I held it up for him to see and discovered that trick. And I'm like, oh, you could have a lot of fun with that. So
That I am like adding that to my list of fun things to do on
isn't that
Zoom. So,
crazy? What a crazy
well,
little
I'll just
discovery.
have my daughter draw a picture of me. I mean, it just has to be, I mean, like, or I can find him, whatever it is. I think it's so cool. I would say so today, or maybe it was today, I don't know. You never know the algorithm when you're seeing something, but
Yes,
you are
yes.
now helping other people tell stories, and you're doing this through some training that you have where people can connect with you. Tell us a little bit about, that passion project and what that looks like.
Um, the storytelling is a 100,000-year-old tradition. It has hung on,
Wow.
and it's the way that human beings. I refer to it as the default setting for human communication because what so often happens in business communication is somebody will stand in front of a room and they will have 20 odd bullet points and they'll get up there on a PowerPoint deck and then they'll read them to
And
you.
read the whole bullet point, the whole
And
PowerPoint.
God bless them. They think they're doing what is expected of them. They think they're doing what they're supposed to do, not realizing that your job isn't to get up there and dump data on us and leave. Your job is to make sure that we understand what you're here to tell us, and you're here to benefit us. It doesn't benefit us if we can't remember what you've said. Bullet points are a remarkably poor way of communicating information in a lasting way. It's like trying to remember a string of numbers. By contrast, if I were to tell you the story of the three little pigs or David and Goliath or the tortoise and the hare, you probably haven't heard that story in 15 years, any of them. And yet you could not only repeat them, you've remembered them from 15 years ago and you can repeat them and you can tell me what they mean. This is a quality of human beings that we remember everything through a narrative by putting ourselves into the situation and being witness to these events. So when you are trying to communicate in business, it is so much better to be able to do so in story form. And it doesn't have to be, for example, a long story about my trip to the gym and watching somebody else. It can be little things like visual metaphors. So,
Yeah.
for example, I did some consulting with the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, and these people that I was dealing with, they were in charge of internet security. Making sure that that nobody gets hit by a phishing attack, and you can't get access to the Federal Reserve's computer system. It's kind of important. And people at the Fed were very upset by all of the hoops that IT would make people jump through. When you booted your computer up in the morning, it literally took like 11 minutes
Oh my
for
God.
the computer because it had to
It's normal.
scan and
That's
I
too
mean
fast.
it
That's
Man,
his. I'm like,
that's
Dad,
speedy.
where are
Yeah.
you? On the computer.
yeah, but I mean it was a real pain in the neck to follow all these
Yeah.
procedures. But they were able to communicate to their own people saying, I want you to imagine the meeting that happens the day our system gets hacked and you can't do your work at all. I want you to picture what it's like to be at the Federal Reserve Bank, San Francisco headquarters at the president of the bank. What's her day like? Can
Oh,
you can you picture it? Let me give you a version of it. And she paints this Armageddon event and all
yeah.
of the ramifications. And they go, and now I'm going to tell you who was the one that let them in. It was you. It was you.
Jeez. That's
What do you
powerful.
think? What do you think your day looks like now?
Yeah.
You are on the national media television, your face and name. Uh, so I'm sorry about your 11-minute boot up time. I
Deal with
apologize.
it. Suck it up.
Yeah, suck it.
It could be way
Suck it
worse.
up.
Yeah. As my daughter would say, too bad, so sad.
Yeah. Nobody left that room
Yeah.
complaining about
I love
it,
that though.
arguing.
But that's the
That's the
thing,
power of storytelling.
well, that's so great that you're offering like this thing that people do that. Now, I know that you have this like black background that is so, very like modern and you're just frightened like you're in front of it. Is that it in your office? Is that where you
That's
film?
it. That's
Okay,
it right
got
there.
it. And how did you, I mean, so first of all, I've got a couple questions for you. So has the fame gone to your head? Because the video I saw of you was watched 50,000 times.
Oh, well, I've had
Woohoo.
I've had
Yeah.
them
So
get up over 10 million. I've had some
yeah.
that went
So
to
I
10
mean,
million.
like, has the fame gone to your head yet?
No, because there's no money in it.
Okay, there you
So
go.
yeah, no. If I was doing all right, I maybe. I think this is just God's way of protecting me from
Okay.
myself. Yeah, I am the least. No, in answer to your question, Jamie, it will never happen because uh,
It's not who you are.
it's
It's not
not. Well, no, it's not that. I would be like any other human being. If you gave me enough adulation and enough money, I would be just as bad, probably worse than most. But it ain't going to happen. It's just
well,
not.
and
It's
then
just it's a lark. It's a thing
yeah.
that I'm.
But then that's the thing. Like I was talking to somebody the other day and they were asking me, and I've got all these different projects, even the podcast. Like, well, what's in it for you? I'm like, what do you mean what's in it for me? Like I don't like I'm like I don't, there's no that's not a thing I think of. Like I do this because I love it. I get to spend time with my dad. We get to meet fascinating people. We don't make money off of this. Like, it's not, and that's not what drives it, right? Like same with you. I would imagine that you don't do it to make the money. You do it because you're making
No,
a difference and
no.
you're helping
I
people
do
and
it
you're on
because of
that
the
17%.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do it because the energy coming back at me is
Yeah.
like food.
Yes.
It's really cool to. I'll give you an example of the sort of thing that happens because of it. I have some really good friends up in Sheridan, Wyoming, and they just reached out to me because of one of the videos that I did. It's called "There Is No Tiger" is the name of the video, and um, they sent me this photo of one of their bros up there had tattooed that on his leg. There is no tiger. They go, hey, I thought you'd get a kick out of this. So I'm like, what? So we wound up all on a Zoom call laughing. They have this brand of motorcycle accessories that they call Go Fast, Don't Die.
Oh,
And they're just a rambunctious, crew of monkeys. And the next thing you know, I'm up there in Sheridan and we're on this motorcycle trip
I,
just because we're all vibing on the same
yeah.
frequency, right? And so what has happened is I have friends all over the world now
Yeah.
in Dubai and Dublin and Hong Kong, and because of this craziness, I do periodically get out into the country and I'll have coffee or drinks with somebody that has invited me,
Yeah.
and I was just down in Gadsden, Alabama, doing it, and Raleigh and Atlanta, and that is a cool experience to have friends you haven't met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That feel
Uh,
like they know you. They probably feel like they like
yeah,
know
they
you
totally
so
feel like they
well.
know you. Which is cool. It's really cool. A guy up in Minneapolis. I was going to be in Minneapolis, and this guy had said, "Hey, if you're ever in Minneapolis, give me a shout." So I emailed him and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in town." So we went out. We had a burger, and we were there 3.5 hours, just shooting the breeze. And you know what we talked about, which was crazy, is he is the father of a stepson who's like 15,
Sure.
and that's tough. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
And to him, I was a known quantity. And then because if he thought I was okay from the videos, then as far as I'm concerned, then he must be okay too, because
Yeah.
he did it. So one of the tricks that we used to do at all of the advertising meetings was we would divide it into acts. So there would be, you would never go longer than 15 minutes before it would be broken up by some change. Before it was like, okay, I wanted to show you this thing. Now I want to go back to one of my favorite things is little toys like this,
Yeah. The trolls.
the
Yeah.
trolls. And I always, whenever I go to a restaurant or go to Starbucks, wherever I go, by the way, I gave these to the guy at the
Was that the
gym.
G.I. Joe that you changed around and he's just now Muscle Man Randy Savage or something like that is?
So the guy that signed me up at my gym, I gave him about 12 of these things. And I said, what you do is you give these to the other people that you sign up, and they're supposed to put it on their nightstand so that when they wake up in the morning and they see him, it's like, go to the gym,
Oh, it's like a
no
little.
excuses. And okay, but anyway, so I always leave these for the waiters or the airline people or whatever. You give it to them with some kind of story. So have you guys heard that story that I tell about this one in particular at the Delta Airlines counter at
No.
Yeah.
LAX?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you haven't heard it, then your listeners haven't either. So it was one of these days. It was one of those awful travel days where there had been some storm in Chicago, and it had screwed up everybody's connections. And now they were canceling flights by the score at LAX. Okay. Well, people can be, it was a simmering zoo of people exhibiting their worst behavior. And unfortunately, the woman at the Delta counter, when we were about to check our bags, she was taking the brunt of it.
She's the
They're
target too.
they're acting like she's got a switch
Yeah.
she can flick and change the weather,
Right.
right?
It's all her fault. Yeah. She's
Right, it's
like,
all her
yeah,
fault. And she has to listen to these complaints, these
pilots are
ludicrous,
consulting.
irrational, right? Okay. Well, the people in front of us, I was there with my friend Marcus, used to be an improv actor. And
Mhm.
he's this big bear of a man and very funny. And the couple ahead of us were just being a couple of insufferable swamp donkeys. And they're really giving her
I don't
not
think
only are
I've
they being,
ever heard that term before in my life, and I'm using it and I'm stealing it.
good. So they're being awful. And it isn't just bad that they're being awful. They're being condescending too, acting like she isn't smart enough to take care of business. It's you could see in her eyes she was finished with the human race. Okay. Now Marcus and I go up there, and Marcus had one of these in his pocket along with a bag of M&Ms, and he goes like this. He goes, "Those two are in big trouble." And the woman goes, "What?" And he goes, "Bjarki saw the whole thing, and all the trolls know each other. And they hate people like that. He's going to tell them. And then they're going to have their revenge. Those two, they are." And the woman goes, "Okay." And then he goes, "Now, if you really want to pour it on, feed him before it goes dark." And he pulls out the M&Ms. He goes, "These are his favorite." And he just gives them to the woman. Okay, now here's what happens.
He's like, security, security. We have a
No, 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 no.
escapee from the mental hospital.
Here's what happens. She's laughing, but she's not the only one that's hearing this. The guy next to her, he hears this too. And he's hearing the whole thing.
Yeah.
Now, she has completely forgotten about those jackasses.
Yeah.
He has jerked her off of that. They are no longer a problem. She's not worried about them anymore. In fact, she's laughing that all I have to do is do this little voodoo ritual where I feed this troll an M&M, and they'll probably get their luggage lost in, Tampa. Okay, that's what's going to happen. So I'm clean. I'm clear. I'm okay. But the second thing that happens is he's left an artifact on the counter in front of them with the M&Ms. So all of the other people at the counter, they're going to hear this story.
Yeah.
They're going to tell this story over and over.
I'm
And every one of them is going to come up and feed Bjarki one of the M&Ms, all of the service people. So they are on a completely new wavelength.
It's a new mythology.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
But that's
Yeah.
it's like, it's like called like a pattern interrupt, right? It's like
Yeah.
interrupting that pattern and giving them
Yeah.
something else to focus on. And she was drowning. She was drowning, and you
Yeah.
threw her the life
Well,
vest.
and what Marcus did, I wasn't hip to it until he was explaining it to me later. He goes, "Not all people are swamp donkeys. The problem is that it only takes a few to make her feel like we're all jackasses.
Yeah.
So if you come over and you plant a flag that we're not all like that, it reminds her we're not all jerks. Everybody's an individual. So don't let that person spoil everybody else's day." They're really good, by the way. They are extremely good at Disney of helping their people deal with the unruly. They don't, because at Disney, you're a cast member.
Yeah.
You are playing a role. You can't let them, if you're Sleeping Beauty or if you're Minnie Mouse, you can't be upset. You've got to participate in this fun environment. So they've got strategies for helping their people remember it's for the kids. Don't let them upset you.
Yeah.
Make sure that the kids have a good memory. And if you don't mind my telling another story, I'm just yammering on.
No, yeah, no, I think we got a few more moments, but yeah, before you tell the other story, I was just curious. I want to make sure I ask you this. Have you ever met any of the actors from Saturday Night Live back in the original days? Have you ever come across them? I know you're in California. Has that ever happened and had that
No,
moment? No?
no,
Okay. I was
that
gonna
would
say,
be
like
that would be
reenact their
astonishing. Like
accent.
poor Gilda Radner died, but
Oh, she's so fabulous.
uh, no, that would have been quite a thrill. Um,
Rosanna, no, right, was it?
Rosanna Dana.
Rosanna Dana. She's, yeah, incredible.
some
I think you may have frozen. Are you still there?
and
Oh, there
the
we go.
thing
There
that strikes. Oh, I was saying I have met quite a few celebrities in New York,
we are.
but the thing that really took me by surprise is someone who appears to be sort of average good looking on TV, and then you meet them in person and you're going, you're not human. I met Rachel Weisz
Oh,
and Ryan Reynolds on the street in the West Village. I could not believe how beautiful she was. It was otherworldly. And I don't think people, if like you have any aspirations to be an actress or an actor, yeah, good luck with that because you are going to run into you're going to be auditioning against people who are genetically not on the spectrum. They are
wow.
so good looking. My
Wow.
first reaction was I saw Ryan Reynolds and Rachel Weisz walking towards me on the street. Now they were shooting a romantic comedy in the West Village, which they do all the time. They were 100 meters away. So all I see at this point are he's very tall and she's quite beautiful, but I only have it in the general sense. You know, they're not yet through the fog. Okay, now they're getting a little closer. Now they're still not close enough for me to recognize them for who they are, but now I can see they are impossibly good looking. Like he is staggeringly handsome and she is a porcelain figurine. And now they are close enough where it's really obvious they're good looking. And this is my reaction. This is me. Look at how handsome. Oh my God, that's Rachel Weisz. Like, right. So a
My
minute
God.
ago, I'm going, I'm just a human being. What's it like to be from Mount Olympus? Oh God, look who it is. And then, and then as they're, okay, now they're in radar view. Like I'm
Right.
fully taking it in. And I am fighting tooth and nail not to stare. And I'm doing a pretty good job. I'm not staring, but as she's getting closer, I am struck by a wave of attractiveness, and I say, "Screw it! I'm staring." And I got a good look at her as she walked by, and just went, "Are you kidding?" And and
She's
he
your
is
hall pass.
he's tall and handsome and
Yeah, he's
charismatic.
not too bad in the eyes either.
So yeah, I know, right? And now he's like, I'm sure he's a billionaire from Mint Mobile. But anyway,
Oh, that and his liquor company and everything and his soccer team.
yeah, right. Oh yeah, the
Oh,
whole Wrexham thing. The guy knows how to
yeah.
print money. It's
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
So you never for once thought that you shared 99% of your genes with her, did you?
No,
Well,
no.
Neil, wow, you did not disappoint. This is
Oh,
amazing.
thank you.
I could talk to you like literally all day. You're incredible.
We could. You guys are a pair too. That's
Thank
that's
you
nice to see that.
so much. I know you have a busy day. Thank you so much for spending some of your time with us. And I know that
My
if
pleasure.
people want to learn how to learn from you, they can go to storyfire.net. Is it storyfire.net?
Yes, that's right. And sometimes you have to put the www in there for reasons I don't understand. But yeah, storyfire.net. It gets its name from all us on the campfire. So
Oh,
storyfire.net.
And the
And
next
well,
time you're in Sarasota, I'll buy you a corned beef sandwich.
oh,
Huh?
that sounds. Oh, one last thing for you. Have you
yeah,
discovered non-alcoholic beer? Like,
I've had it before.
The
Why?
question is why?
no, I'm telling you, this is a new frontier for me. I discovered
It tastes
Heineken
good too, eh?
Yeah.
because it's good enough, and I can have beer with lunch now.
Well,
So
Neil,
when
Neil,
we have that corned beef
Neil,
sandwich in
you
Sarasota, I'm
always
having
could
a
have had
beer.
beer with lunch. Whose voice are you listening to?
I know. What am I saying? I'm an adult.
Thank
I
you
can try.
so much.
Thank you.
We
Thank
are
you. You
so,
guys are
it's
Pleasure.
been
just,
such a pleasure. I hope that our paths cross again. I will be out are you in LA?
yeah,
I'll be out there a little bit. So if I've got some time, I'll reach out to you and we can have some coffee out there or something.
that would be wonderful. There are plenty of places to do it. LA is a lot cooler than people think it is.
All right. Well, I will reach out to you when I have those dates. Thank you so very much. You are
All
awesome.
right, guys.
And I can't wait to see your next story that pops up on my screen when I'm
Right
scrolling.
on.
Bye to
Okay.
you, your cartoon, and of course, Columbus.
I'll be back, baby. You'll
Yeah,
see.
buddy. Thanks. All right.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Thank you. Oh my goodness. So fun. What a awesome, fun conversation, right? Did I not tell you that was going to be amazing? Just going to be incredible. Did I not tell you that?
You did. You promised. You promised. He delivered.
I
And I
did,
know.
right? And like that's the thing is that I think that storytelling,
We recording? We still
we
here?
are, and I've got a hard stop. I got a call. I've got to get on. I just realized that. But like the thing is that like storytelling starts with, you told me stories growing up as a little kid. It starts with children and it builds up. And I tell stories in my
It's
sessions.
part of the
And
human condition. That's what it basically is, and it's powerful. It's memorable, and
Yeah.
people should do it more. It has its place in life and business,
Yeah,
everywhere.
I love it. Well, for that, I think that's the ending there. Woo!
We didn't just hear his story; we heard many of his stories.
I know, so cool. Well, listener, had a treat today. So it's what's your story and his stories and their stories and your stories. And if you need to learn how to tell a story, you know where to
I
go.
think maybe you ought to tag Rachel Weisz and
I think we
Ryan Reynolds. Just tag
should.
them and say, did you know you're pretty good looking? Remember, there's one thing that fame cannot buy,
What's that?
and it's really worthwhile: anonymity.
It's true.
It's a
It's
pleasure
true.
walking into a supermarket and people leave you alone. They don't know you. There you go. You're here. You're
It's
there.
true. It's true. All right, Dad. I love it. Love you.
Good to see you, kids.
All right.
Happy trails, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, thank you for tuning into today's What's Your Story podcast.
To learn more or share your story, go to jamiemarco.com. That's www.jaimemarco.com. And we will see you next time.